Welcome to the Mastering the Mind podcast. Today we welcome Keely Hodgkinson to the podcast. Keely is an English track and field athlete specializing in the 800-meter event.
At the age of 19, Keely won a silver medal at the recent Tokyo 2020 Olympics, breaking the British record set by Kelly Holmes in 1995. Some of Keely's major achievements include coming first in the 2021 Diamond League in Zurich, winning gold in the 2021 European Indoor Championships in Turin, and winning bronze in the 2019 European Under-20 Championships. So let's welcome Keely to the podcast. We've just been stressing trying to sort it all, and we eventually tweeted at you to check your emails.
Yeah, I just thought, maybe I could hold them on Twitter, but there we go. Right,
the timing of that as well, it couldn't have been any worse. It's crazy.
Yeah, we've got one of our biggest podcasts coming out today as well, with a guest that we really enjoyed. So that's going to ruin the release date for that. So
maybe by the time this is over, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
fingers crossed. Awesome. Fingers crossed.
But anyway, thanks for joining us. Obviously, not ideal that this has happened, and hopefully you can still fit some time in for us. But
yeah, definitely, it's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. So a great place we like to start, and for the listeners to sort of get to know you, is talk us through your journey to date. So from growing up to where you are now. Who is Keely Hodgkinson?
Big question.
I'd say, well, sporting wise, my background, my parents were quite sporty. They didn't do anything on the international stage or anything. But my dad once ran London Marathon, but he can't run anymore. He's got to hip replacements, and he had to have them quite young. So that was that. My mum got involved like everything at school really, but I feel like back then they didn't really have the same like maybe connections or like access to what we have now. Like I'm not saying what we have now is amazing, but it's definitely better than what we had back then. So then I actually used to swim like stupid. Swimming, they do stupid hours. Getting up at like 5 a.m. but I was like 11.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I think I built up quite a good like aerobic base. So I did a cross country for school. And I did okay in that. I was actually supposed to win that race, but so you know, like at primary school when you're running and you're following a person who's like leading you around.
Yeah.
Towards the end, the person ducks under this tape, so I follow him, and then the girl who comes next to me comes running past straight to the finish line. I'm like, everybody's shouting at me, and I'm like, oh dear. And then from then on, I went down to like the local club. I did actually quit for a year one time. I just decided that like I don't know. This wasn't for me. I was about 13, and then I had a couple of problems, like some operations I had to have, and then I came back when I was about 14, and then it just progressed from there really, and just kind of took it year by year. Had a few changes over the past years. That probably got me to where I am now. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey, I'd say.
So your parents were did they kind of inspire you to make that transition into track and field, from swimming to track and field? Yeah,
my dad probably more definitely, but we used to get in arguments because he'd be like, you're a better runner, and I'd be like, so you're saying I'm a bad swimmer then? Me being stubborn, I'm like, what, do you think I'm a shit swimming? And he's like, no, I just think you're better at track and field. And I'm like, because I didn't actually like track and field at first. It wasn't, I didn't like swimming. So when I got bored of that, I was like, okay, I don't really want to do nothing, so I want to give running a go. But my dad is definitely one of my biggest inspirations. He's always just said things to me like, you know, whatever you want, you can go out and get it. You gotta work hard. So yeah, he still says that to me now. If you want it, you go get it.
Just going back to the routine of a swimmer, I'm interested to know, because I've never really knew the answer. Why is their routine so wake up at 4 a.m. and go swim?
I mean, I was chatting to one of the Brownlee brothers about this, because they do some swimming, and they say, they're like, yeah, they don't need to train that early. They definitely don't, because as a runner, I've done double days. And I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. to do it. No. But I'm thinking like maybe it's work or before the pool's open to the public. So they got to do it there. Right. 4 a.m. And then they'll do it again at night, 12 hours later. It's a tough sport, definitely a tough sport.
I had like friends growing up in school who were doing it at our pools, and like they'd go before school, and it was just like a crazy routine that they had to keep up with, especially to balance it with school. I mean, credit to them.
And they do it from quite a young age as well.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's a lot. So anyone who makes it in swimming, I'm like, how do I?
Did you have any inspirations growing up that you looked up to in athletics or anything like that?
Athletics wise, I always say my first memory was probably Jessica Ennis doing the goal, because I was about 2012. I was 10 in 2012.
It doesn't even seem like that long ago.
I know, it's crazy.
Oh my god.
But then I've also said this, but my first Olympic memory is actually Tom Daley, but that's mainly because like everyone used to fancy him.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm his type, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's my first, and then boom with swimming and stuff like that. But Jessica Ennis is probably one of the things that and I spoke to her about this just before the Olympics. She sent me a message in the round, and I was like, oh, she was one of the main reasons I decided to switch to athletics, seeing her do that. And it was really inspiring back then, especially I think that was the part when I was stuck in between, what do I do, swimming or athletics? So yeah, that was a top moment for me.
What was it that made, like, what was it that, like, that you rated her so much? Like, what was it, her mentality or the way she performed, or what was it?
I think it's just like the performance. Obviously, it was nice that it was in London, and there was obviously a lot of hype because it was a home games. But I just enjoyed watching it, and like, I'd say I probably wanted to be a heptathlete back then, but you wouldn't see me do that now. But I think a lot of people were probably inspired by her, especially obviously being a woman and being in the spotlight as well. That's also really great to see for young girls. So yeah, it was probably a bit of everything. And I think after the London Olympics, I remember my old coach saying to me that the athletics just was flooded in with people coming in because of the inspiration from London. So that's really great.
Yeah, I think her personality really shone through during those Olympics as well. Really connected to the media. I think that's why everyone loves her.
Yeah,
so
always smiling. Literally.
Yeah, it's always nice when you have that personality come across on camera, because I don't think with a lot of athletes it does. So when you do get to see someone, I think that's why Usain Bolt probably so big, because he's just a big personality that puts himself out there.
And I think when people do open up to the media and show their personalities, they are just rated so much more. I think with my sport, football, people really do, like, they don't really show their personalities too much, maybe because of the criticism that they can get.
Yeah, football's like really, really big as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one.
You watching the interviews and they're like,
it's just the same. It's the same old interview every single time, just carbon copies.
Whereas in the NBA, like we've discussed this, or like the players, they always show their personality. They're even joking with the people that are interviewing them, the pundits also. It's just different mentality over here in the UK, isn't it?
Different press as well. I always think the American press is like, they love that, like the hyping up, and I think that's why Sha'Carri Richardson's so big, because everyone just hypes her. Like
she's so funny. She's so entertaining.
She's gonna bring so much to the sport. But the American press like that, whereas I think the British press, you'd get ripped to shreds.
Yeah,
they're always looking to sell drama to sell a story like that, whereas they're not really sharing much positive news. But yeah, anyway, moving on from all this negative. So at a young age, obviously you developed very quickly. You were setting records for your club. What was that like?
I don't really know, to be honest. I think I was just like taking it year by year. The past 2 years have definitely gone by really quickly. Like if you told me a year ago the year I'd have this year, like my goals have changed throughout, which has been kind of crazy. I'm not sure I'll ever have a season as like up the rankings as I ever will have, but it's been really good fun. Definitely don't take any of it for granted, because I think with track and field, it can just humble you so quickly. You can win one race 1 week, but by the next, like that's the thing with the Diamond League circuit as well, because they're just continuous. It's like you can have a different winner every week. You know, it's really hard to stay on top. So going into championships, obviously that's the important part. So I like championship racing. I feel like I really like to raise my game for that. But yeah, it's been really fun, and I've got to go to loads of new places, meet loads of new people, and set a few records on the way.
Yeah, like at a young age, it's so easy, like you said, to fall in the trap of like, you know, being cocky and like, you know, taking things for granted. So how do you kind of stay humble? Like, do you have any like support systems around you to, like, you know, help you out?
I'd say I definitely have, obviously Trevor and Jenny, Jenny Meadows, obviously she's been there and done it all. And I've kind of seen it myself. You know, you see when you doing well as a young athlete, and then I realized this year it's so hard to break into the seniors. And I think it's something that probably needs to be talked about more with junior athletes, with like, it's so different. Like, it's obviously really good to do well as a junior, but to come into the senior with all these people that don't care what you did when you were 18, 17, I think that, yeah, it does wake you up. I'm getting a phone call. It definitely wakes you up into this whole new world of competing with the best week on week and trying to stay on that circuit, because if you're not performing there, you ain't getting invited. So, you know, there's nowhere to hide. So I suppose I've just kind of realized that if I want to stay here, well, I've got to keep putting the work in, because I won't be here next year if that's the case. So.
You mentioned that year out you had on your rise up when you was about 13. Talk us through that sort of year, how it was for you, why you needed the break, and did it help you going into athletics again the year after?
I think it did, yeah. And I think being at that age, it's kind of like you're developing a lot. Your friends, you got friends at school who are doing different things, and it's kind of an age, definitely teen years, where a lot of people like drop out and lose their interest. But I was still running, but I had the year out because I had to have an operation on my ear, which kept me out about 6 months. But then I got injured, so then I was out for another 6 months. It was about a year in total. But I was like, at the time, I was kind of bored of athletics, and I was like actually looking forward to getting 6 months off. I was like, yes, I don't have to train for 6 months. But then after watching my friends, like my athletics friends, develop and get better and do things, I kind of got the hunger back in me. So when I came back, at first I was running it for fun because I didn't want the pressure of like trying to get back. But then once I got that hunger, nobody pressured me as well. That was really good. Nobody was like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Everyone was like, yeah, we'll let her be. We'll let her just run for fun if she wants to. Because the last thing you want to do is push someone away from something, because I'll never do it again. And then, yeah, year by year, I just built up and moved my goals every year. New goals, new aims to try and reach, and I just train for them, really.
Do you sort of prefer being the underdog then, where you've got people to chase, or do you prefer setting your own standards and trying to beat your own goals?
It is. I do think it is easier being the underdog, because nobody's expecting anything, and then you just come out and go, oh, who's this person? Whereas, because they always say that like being on top, getting to the top is the easier part, is staying on top. So I think maybe next year is going to be a challenging year in terms of like maybe being a target for some people. But 100%. There's still a thing Mo to beat, so she's going to be the main target. But yeah, it's going to be competitive, and 800 at the minute is just like on fire in Britain alone, never mind worldwide. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. So obviously during your kind of youth career, you traveled all over the place, kind of like, especially in Europe. So at that young age, how was that? Is it easy to cope with like these traveling hours, going to different places? Tell us more about it.
Obviously I've probably been traveling for Europe since I was about 16 when I did my first youth competition, which was very exciting. But yeah, it's very different doing one junior competition abroad to then going to abroad every weekend. You know, like literally since July, I have lived out of a suitcase. I hate airports. They annoy me so much. But it's been a lot of fun. But like, yeah, I think one thing that I probably struggled with is, whether that's my age or I just need to learn how to deal with it, is recovering between flights. Sometimes you're on a flight at 4 a.m. and if you come back from America, it's 24 hours to get home, and he's just knackered. And it's just learning how to do it. That's what people don't talk about. You think, oh yeah, I want to go race in Germany. I want to go race in France. Like, getting there back and then doing it again the week after, and the week after that is hard. But it's part of the job, I suppose. So I'll get used to it.
If only teleportation was a thing.
That's such a good superpower as well.
Obviously, with the demands of being a 16-year-old and you having to balance that with traveling, how have you found that? Obviously, having to do things like school, was that a factor that you had to sort of balance with your traveling, and also missing out on things that you would normally do as a 16-year-old?
Yeah.
How have you found that?
I think for myself, that part was actually quite easy, because for me, that was my priority. That's what I want. Like, so for example, at prom, I went to my prom, but I didn't do after prom because I had the European Youth the week after. But I won the European Youth. That to me was I'd rather do that than have. Obviously, I was gutted I missed my after prom with all my friends in my school year, but that was just kind of my priority. Some people at that age have different views, and that's just how it is. But that part I don't find too bad, the missing out on things, because there are other things that I want to do instead, if you get me. I kind of see it as worth it. But then it is how, you know, you got friends going out and they're doing this and you're like, oh, I can't drink till September, I'm sorry guys. But they get it. So as long as you got friends that get it, then I think the distraction is minimalized. But yeah, it's just having the right people around you, really, and just thinking about what you want to do, I'd say.
For sure. And 2021 was an incredible year for you. So what was it like knowing that you were going to go to your first Olympics? Like, what was your kind of reaction to that? Were you kind of nervous, excited?
I was very excited. I saw it as a really good opportunity to put myself on a world stage. And obviously with the stamina we've got in Britain at the minute and how everyone's performing, it was kind of like, everyone's like, oh, well, we're going to make finals and podiums. And I'm like, I don't usually like to say what I want to do. I kind of just in my head, I'll be like, yeah, I'd like to make the final. But in my head, I was like, no, I want a medal. But I don't want to publicly say that to everyone, because everyone's like, she said she wanted a medal, she didn't get it. But yeah, I think most athletes like that, they have their goals in their head. But it was just exciting. And it was the Olympic, if I was to explain the Olympics in one word, it'd be chaotic.
Yeah?
Yeah, it don't get me wrong, like I loved it. It was great. But that Olympic Village, I don't even know what goes on in there. It's crazy.
Is it?
Like, there's so many people, everyone's speaking a million different languages. You meet loads of nice people though, which is great, and people from other sports, you know, and people that I've watched. Like, I was in the same apartment block as Adam Peaty and Tom Daley, which is quite cool. But yeah, definitely chaotic, and everyone just blends in. Like, Usain Bolt could be walking around, I wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
You seem to take everything in your stride. Like, you're very calm. I don't think I'd be quite the same.
Oh, thank you.
How do you, like, when you step out and obviously, like, you see the stadium, what is that feeling like?
So I saw the stadium for the first time when I literally walked out straight to the heats, because I didn't manage to get down beforehand. So I'm walking out and I'm like, this is actually massive.
Yeah.
This is big. The biggest stadium I've ever been in. And then I was like, imagine if it was full. Like, what would that be like? So I'd never ran with a crowd before. But I was definitely more nervous for the heats. As the rounds went on, I got better. By the final, I was fine, because I was in the final by then. You know, you've done the hardest part. Now you just gotta execute. But yeah, the stadium was very cool though. Definitely a fast track, very big, a little bit overwhelming. But I kind of just like, I'll forget about that. Just focus on running 2 laps. So you got to do, and then once it's over, the first part, then you can think about the next. But yeah, like you say, just trying to take it moment by moment, I think.
There was a lot of videos going around social media of like athletes showing what it was like living at the village, like adapting to the whole COVID situation.
Oh, God, yeah.
How was that for you? Like, was that an extra stressor for you, or did you just, you know, go with the flow? And
it was a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
Like, you having to wear, because I remember I left the country and the rules were still in place, and then we'd spent 3 weeks wearing a mask everywhere we went, and then I come home and no one's got one on, and I'm like, I feel weird. But it wasn't too bad. Obviously, there was COVID testing every day, having to eat food between plastic walls. You can't hear anybody, so you're having a conversation like, what
Yeah.
So that was a kind of annoying, but I suppose you're just grateful that the Olympics were put on, because they very easily could have just said no, we'll just wait till Paris.
There's a lot of talks about that, especially like really close to it starting, that it could have got cancelled.
That was a bit stressful.
Yeah, what were the athletes thinking around there? Was there much chat going on, or did you just thought?
I mean, I think a lot of the athletes thought that it was going to go ahead, because we were like a month out, and I'm like, they're not cancelling it now. Like, so much is going ahead. We're flying in 2 weeks. You know, it's not. And the Japanese people, because I thought it was, I kept seeing tweets on Twitter of like people in Tokyo saying, no, we don't want it. But when we were there, like, they were like so nice. They couldn't have been more welcoming. And the Japanese culture, like, very, very nice people. And they seemed like they wanted it. So just went along with that, really.
Yeah, it looked really well organized. Yeah, it looked really well organized as well.
Yeah, definitely. There are people all over the country.
Yeah. Did you have someone walk with you? Because I guess you guys had like, is it like daily walks or something? You could only like walk like 100 meters, 200 meters, like back and forth. Like, it was quite restricted, no? What you could do. within
we could only stay on one side of the hotel. The other side was for the public.
Okay.
I never went on one of them walks. I decided to it was literally a 50-meter straight line.
Yeah, I saw videos. Crazy.
So instead, so where the distance runners were all running, there's like a golf course. So if there was any spare seats, I'd go to the golf course and just walk instead of run. And then there's people watching, but you've got like 2 miles to walk rather than 50 meters.
You fancy swinging some clubs?
They would not have let us do that. We could not touch anything. But yeah, they did a great job in putting it on, and like everything they did for every country. Like there was 200 countries there. So it was very well put on, and just grateful it happened really.
Okay. So talking about your Olympic experience, how do you feel you best prepare for an event like that? Maybe leading up to the event, and then maybe on the actual day of you competing. How do you best prepare?
Oh, well, I say the Olympics was very different to like a Europeans, or especially different to a junior competition. But to be honest, I just try not to think about it, because I don't think I realized how many people actually watch the Olympics, and like how many people at home. It was really nice to have that support at home. Then I'm like, oh, people who didn't even know I am now I've got banners down my main street in my hometown in my face, and I'm like, oh no. So I try not to think about that and that's what my coach said to me. He's like, it's just 2 laps in another stadium in another part of the world, like that's such it. So I tried to just view it as that, and then literally take it round by round. But like I said, I was most nervous for the heats, because I did not want to go out in the heats. I was like, no, please no. And then the semis, it's like, the semis is probably a bit more nerve-wracking, because you got 24 people trying to get into 8 lanes. So you always get a few surprises, and and it's all here, there, and everywhere. But yeah, I just kind of took it round by round really, and just trusted in my abilities. I think that's really important. You just got to be confident in what you're training. My training went really well up to the games. I knew I was in good shape. It was just about not panicking, not wasting energy on thinking about what they're doing, what the people are doing. Obviously, you got to take that into consideration within your strengths and weaknesses, but just mainly backing yourself really. Yeah.
Is there anything that you've learned from the Olympics that you're going to maybe change next time?
I'll probably take a better cushion.
Not bad idea that.
So
somebody asked me this the other day, and I was like, I mean, the Olympics went out like pretty well, so I was kind of, if I was to change anything, it'd probably be for the next Olympics. In terms of, I'd bring more snacks, because especially in a place where the food is very different, although they did do everything they could to like give us food that we'd like, but like snacking in between meals, I was like, I need more food, so things like that.
What's your go-to snack?
I go-to snack, I really digestive biscuits,
Okay, wait, what sort though? What sort?
Just the plain ones.
What?
I know everyone goes, why? Everyone says that's monkey behavior, and I'm
even me and John, we're all disagreeing on this, because I like the dark chocolate ones.
I know milk chocolate
with a cup of tea. With a cup of tea.
Come on, so
can't
weird.
go wrong.
I like plain because they're just, you can eat them, and there's not much sugar in them, so I don't feel bad. I just
true.
Just keep jumping away. But yeah.
Your response is so funny, because we've had different athletes on, and they've always said like their first Olympic experience, because they were quite young, obviously, like you. They've always said like, I take time to look at the mental side and prepare mentally, and look at other like my competitors and what they do to prepare before competition.
Oh, interesting.
And you're just you're just chilling. You're just chilling. You're just enjoying it.
Yeah. I think maybe it's just the way that I function, but I just like don't want to think about it too much, because then you start thinking, oh my god, there's so many people watching at home, there's all this pressure, and like I said, I'm only young, so hopefully I'll have many more experiences, but like at the same time, I don't want to think about it. I just want to crack on, do my 2 races, and you never know what's gonna happen in the future. I could get injured in Paris, touch wood I don't, but it happens. It happened to Jenny. She went to Beijing didn't go how planned. She was ranked 2nd in the world going to London, and then didn't run all year because of an injury. And that was probably going to be her year to shine, especially in a home game. So that's why I think, just Because some people would say like, oh, she's too young to go to the Olympics. She's too young. It's like, well, why wait? Like, why? I don't know what's going to happen, you know? So yeah, it's young and it might be a little bit rare, but I'll take it.
I feel like the fact that you're this young and you're able to handle the pressure this well, I think this is just the start of like a very, very,
Thank
very
you.
successful career. Like I've never seen
Hopefully.
anyone this calm over
Same
such
here.
important events. Like you've clearly got a gift in the mental side for sure, because a lot of people get to these moments. They're able to compete all year round in the not as important events. And then when it comes to the big time, they really struggle. But the fact that you can really handle that,
No, thank
I don't
you.
see why you can't go on to reach really big things.
Hopefully. But like I said before, it's like staying there now. That's going to be the tougher part. So it's going to be a new challenge, I'd say. But it's going to be interesting. So we'll just see what happens.
Mm. Do you have like a pre-race routine? So like when you're in a hotel, just before, you know, you leave to go to the hotel, do you have anything you do in your room, or just go with the flow again?
I always go with that. I mean, I always FaceTime my coach whilst I'm doing my makeup. Like a routine. I
Yeah.
always do that. He's like, "Oh, you doing your makeup? Yeah, okay, what are we doing today?" And then just get my bag ready, listen to music. I just chill, really. It's more like I do have a routine, like when I like warm up, like I do everything. Like I'm not OCD, but when it comes to that, I'm like I'll be flexible. If something goes wrong, I'm like, okay, no, I can live without it. But ideally, you know, you want. And here's a funny story. Is when, you know how you wear a Garmin, and like so I wear my Garmin. I don't wear it 24/7 only on my runs, but I was warming up for the final, and my watch pinged, and I looked down and it said peaking. I was gassed. I was like, what better time to be in peak shape than right now? So I took a picture of it. I was going to send it to my coach, but he'd be like, why are you on your phone 20 minutes before call? But yeah.
That's interesting. So some athletes like to have that, you know, structure, like that same routine, because that's what reassures them. That's what makes them feel calm. So you're clearly doing it as well. It seems like it's working for you, having that, you know, structure. So it's really interesting to see that.
It's nice to have structure, but at the same time, there's a couple of things of like, so usually I do like to do some ice baths, whereas sometimes I've been in Europe and your hotel won't have a bath. So you gotta like, you can't hold on to things too much and just think, okay, maybe I'll just use a shower and just like make it cold for a bit. Like there's a few things you just gotta think, you know, you gotta make a few differences. But as long as the main things, like I have a Red Bull before I run, and like I always keep that there and eat my carbs, and I'm happy. I know I'm gonna be okay. But yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so something I've started asking all our guests, because it links to my study that I did on my master's, is what psychological qualities do you feel make a successful 800-meter sprinter?
I like how you said sprinter, because I think it's a sprint event, but everyone, you know.
It is. It's a long sprint.
It is definitely. I'm gonna say focus on yourself, confidence, you know, and then confidence, focus, and not, I don't know the word, I don't know the one word for this, but maybe like not to dwell on things that don't go well.
Yeah,
I'd say that, because not every race is going to be record run, and you're not going to win every race. I've not won every race this year, but dwell on it, then the training's not going to go well, and blah blah. And yeah, the confidence is massive. I think, you know, you need to believe in yourself, because if you're thinking someone's going to beat you on the start line, like they've already beat you, in my opinion anyway. Yeah, that's big for me.
We've heard that event is like one of the most painful events, like at the end of the race. Like I don't know how you do it, like maintain that pace for that long. It's crazy.
I think 400 hurts more at the end.
Oh yeah.
But I think the 800 training's worse.
All right.
A lot of my training sessions is just lactic.
Yeah.
Especially in season, it's just week after week of pain. But when it gets to racing, you put yourself in that pain in training. So in racing, it feels slightly easier. But 400 at the end.
Yeah, you just can't feel your legs at all.
No, not at all.
I did a little bit of 400 meter for the school, and like, oh my God. I just remember like coming out the blocks fast, and then the last 100 meters, everyone's cheering me on during that final stretch. And then I've just got nothing left in the tank. Yeah.
Especially if you go off too hard. Oh my days. Yes,
because it was like one of my first times actually like racing around a track, and then you're seeing people sort of going past you because they're in a different lane. So you don't sort of know where you are. So, that's something I really struggled with.
Yeah, you don't know where anyone is to the last 100 when it evens out. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever worked with a sports psychologist during your sort of career?
I have. I've been quite lucky to be able to access it through British Athletics because I'm on the Futures programme. But I mean, I don't really like to talk about things very much. So, but I do think this next year it's going to be something that I work with. I'm in Loughborough this weekend actually with Futures, so I'm going to speak to psychologists there because a lot of people I've spoken to have said if you can access it, and especially if you can get it for free, do it. And I've never really seen why, but I do feel like maybe over the next couple of years it's going to be important. I always think when you're young, what is there really to talk about unless you really think you need it. But yeah, I can see the benefits that it has, especially because sport, it's hard. You have many ups and downs, and sometimes you don't know what to do.
Yeah, so I think something we're really trying to share on this podcast is that it's not necessarily always for a problem either. Whether you've got something like, it's not always just the ups and downs. It's about, right, like you said, you're at the top level now. How can you stay at that top level? Well, perhaps working on your mental game is going to help you stay at the top, because I think obviously I said that you've got this gift of being so confident in yourself and calm, whereas others I think really need to work on that to sort of stay calm during those moments. So it could definitely improve performance working on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it can as well. Like someone's just like not cracking under pressure, isn't it? Which is it's a hard thing to do. It's not easy. Any sports games, they're not easy. There's always things that play in your head, and especially when sometimes you can be so confident in the weeks leading up to it, and you could literally be in the call room and you can hear these doubts in your head, and you're thinking, I'm here now, why are you doubting me now? But it's just the nature of adrenaline and fear, isn't it? So it's just, I think it's dealing with them negative thoughts, because everyone gets them. Even Usain Bolt will get them. It's just how you deal with it, really. You might not show it. He definitely doesn't show it, but no doubt he probably will have had them.
Go ahead.
No, so moving on to sort of the next section, which is outside of athletics. We're interested to see how our guests sort of disconnect from their arena. So how do you disconnect from training and competing?
I mean, I'm very sociable, so I like to just do things with my friends, really. Do love a shopping trip, but mainly just chill. And I'm taking a gap year this year. I'd say uni, but I'm taking a gap year, so that's gonna either be a good thing or a bad thing. I guess we'll find out.
Struggle to get momentum back.
But yeah, so I think it's important to have a distraction from athletics, because you don't want it to be all about training. But I do quite a few different things. I'm kind of interested in trying to learn language.
Yeah, I am as well.
Yeah, it's one of them things that I just feel like Brits are so lazy.
What language do you want to learn?
Well, I did Spanish at school, so I was like, do I do Spanish? But then I thought it's Paris in 3 years. Should I learn French?
You've got a bilingual French speaker here, so if you want some lessons. Yeah.
Where did you get your French side from?
So I'm from Belgium. My parents are both British. They moved here like 25 years ago. So I grew up here in Belgium. Went in the French school system, so that's where I got the French, and spoke English at home, really.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. And Belgium, I swear that don't the one half speak like
exactly
Dutch,
so I'm from the French area, so the kind of south part of it. It's such a messed up country. It's so weird.
The Dutch people.
How do I talk to the Dutch people?
Yeah.
Can
you not?
Well, we're technically everyone's meant to be like have the ability to speak both languages, but everyone hate like the Dutch side and the French side don't get along really well. But I speak English to the Dutch because my Dutch is so bad. So, and they have really good English. So
John went to European school and he knows so many languages. Like I've got a Spanish girlfriend and he can just strike up a conversation with her, no problem. It's mental.
Why are you hyping me up like that? No, I'm joking.
That's so cool. Actually, I wish I could speak another language, and I've tried so many times, and then like life has got in the way. So now that there's a period, you know, getting training period where I'm not racing, I'm going to try and get some kind of language. That'd be quite cool.
I was really lucky because I was like in that environment when I was really young, and you learn a language much easier when you're like 2, 3, 4, you know, like that's the perfect age to learn the language because your brain is like slowly developing, so or quickly developing. But languages are so important nowadays. So yeah, I'm blessed to be able to speak to.
I've just finished my master's, and it's my goal this winter to sort of learn Spanish, or at least be able to just understand it as much, to have a conversation with like my girlfriend's family where they'll speak to me in Spanish and I actually understand what they're saying. Because like we went out for drinks not so long ago, and then when they get drunk, they start speaking Spanish more without them knowing, and it's like I'm still here.
No, that would be cool though. And I remember being at I was on holiday with my family a couple of years ago, and I was at a bar in Marbella, and this guy's Irish guy, probably the most Irish looking guy you'll ever see, and he's talking to us in Irish, and he just turns around, starts cracking Spanish banter with the waiter, and I'm just like,
oh, it's so cool. Yeah,
it's so cool. It's just one of the little talents you want to have. You can just spit out another language,
especially when you're on holiday and you just like quickly strike up a conversation with someone. Like, no problem. leave this to me. I'll talk to him real quick.
You order the food, you do everything.
Oh, that'd be so cool. And then they're impressed because everyone knows the British are lazy and don't know any languages. They're like, oh, cool.
What is it about Brits? Come on, guys. Like, what is it about Brits that you guys don't want to learn the language? Come on.
You got two Brits here that want to learn languages.
I'm proud of you guys.
Everyone just learns English. Like, I go to Europe, especially on the athlete circuit. They speak perfect English. There's actually no need for me to learn language because they just all speak perfect English. But I do think it's just one of them like nice that they made the effort, so we know. Is
there any athlete, like, is there any nationality that are like the funniest, like within your like, you know, events, or any like stereotypes or
3 favorite nationalities in terms of foreign? It'd be the Dutch. I think the Dutch are the most like the English. They get the banter a little bit. It's like I get on with like Femke Ball really well, if you've heard of her. But then love Jamaicans. They are so sassy. It is so funny. Love Jamaicans. But then the Aussies, because they're very British, because we basically own them, don't we? So
Aussies are class. I love Aussies. Their accent as well, it's just class.
Yeah,
they are cool, but they're always out of it because they come from so far away, and then they come over. They spend like the whole summer in Europe, and they just catch up with everyone. It's quite cool. But I'm thinking when they want to race, unless you're pro in Australia, you can't get out of the country because you've got to be getting into the diamond leagues and be able to spend all summer here, or you're in Australia because it's so far away. So I kind of feel sorry for them, but it is what it is.
But you talk about taking a gap year. You're also studying criminology at Leeds Beckett. So how has that been, balancing obviously university and studies? You're currently taking a gap year, so
I'm trying to study.
Difference.
To be honest, like a lot of my athlete friends, they're very clever. I don't know what it is. I was having this conversation the other day. A lot of athletes are very clever, and they can pull out these A stars whilst training at a high level. I don't know how they do it, because me personally, I can't do it. I really struggle with staying focused at education, and like especially with it being online, I've struggled with trying to balance it, because I need someone to tell me, oh, you need to be here at 10 o'clock and we're going to do 2 hours work, and then you're done for the day. If someone says fit in 2 hours wherever you like, I'm not going to do it. So I've definitely found that hard, which has probably contributed a bit to the gap year, because it's still a bit online and stuff like that. So I'm probably not the best person to ask about that.
Why criminology?
But I did it at college, and actually it's quite interesting, like looking at the minds of crazy people in this world that do really weird things. Like it's a bit sick, but it's quite interesting. And looking at, there's more than just obviously the crime side. There's like social crime and like how to prevent, you know, within a society and things like that, which is interesting. A bit boring, but it's all right.
No, it is interesting.
Do you watch any like Netflix documentaries, like crime documentaries? I'm really into them. Like that's what I watch on Netflix. That's all I do.
They are good. Like the what's the one called? where with the guy who pretended there was like aliens coming with that family next door. What was that one called? Because that
Like,
was sick and twisted.
was it Unsolved Mysteries? Was it one of them, like them ones, or no?
Oh,
There was an episode like that. No.
it could have been on the same thing, but they had its own documentary on Netflix. It was
Okay.
around the time that the Ted Bundy one came out.
Oh, okay.
And there's another one, and you'll have to Google it and watch it because oh my god, it's I won't go into too much detail because it's a bit disgusting, but it's all kinds of crazy.
One of my favorite ones was Into the Mind of Aaron Hernandez. I don't know if you've ever watched that one. It's about the NFL player. Unbelievable documentary.
Definitely watch it. It's so good. Like, it's basically like a famous NFL player. I'm not gonna spoil it, but like he gets into a messy situation, and whilst he's like doing all this crime, he's still competing in the NFL week in, week out.
Like he was winning.
Oh,
like, Super
I've
Bowls.
heard of this guy. What crimes did you do?
I won't spoil it. You have to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't say it. Or don't say it.
I watched it ages ago, but I remember it being so good.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
But, how much do you value education? So what kind of made you want to, study a degree?
I'm not gonna lie. I studied a degree because I wanted to move out.
Okay.
Fair enough.
In all honesty there. If I wasn't an athlete, I wouldn't have gone to uni. That is just me. That's just how I am. I actually wanted to go in the army, believe it or not, when I was 16. But then I was like, I know Kelly Holmes did it, but I don't think it would work so much in this day and age. So I decided, and I thought, I don't want to stay at home because I need my own space. So I thought, okay, I'll give university a try. I was umming and ahhing about it. And I have enjoyed my year there. But just like I said, for right now, maybe 19-year-old me can't cope with it, but maybe like 24, 25-year-old me can. We're quite lucky that in this country you can go to uni when you want. So that's just like where I am right now. And I've enjoyed uni, and I think it's a good option, especially for athletes trying to pursue that both pathway of getting a degree and trying to do sport as well. And Leeds Beckett is good for that. We'll shout out my university. But yeah, me personally definitely struggled with that. But
yeah, we figured out during our course, we did like a sort of a networking thing where we had to present a poster. We found out that everyone on our course is an Olympian or some sort of athlete. And then there's just me and John repping.
We did sports psychology at Loughborough, and
you went to Loughborough?
Yeah, we're with Emily Borthwick. We're in her cohort.
Emily. I love Emily. She's from the NP, so
she's so funny. We had her on the podcast as well.
She is funny.
She loves pie, isn't it?
Wigan
pie. That's what I remember from that.
She's more Wigan than me. She's like, she's way more Wigan than me.
Yeah. We'll mention that to her. No, but in terms of all the questions we had for you, they were all the questions we had for you. But we obviously asked our social media audience if they've got any questions for you. So this is sort of the section where we just reel them off one by one and just get your insight into your answers. So the first one is, how do you stay motivated?
Oh,
yeah.
That is, probably right now, that's probably something I'm going through a little bit with, in terms of getting back into training, looking for my goals for next year. But you just had like that time off, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to try and get back into it. But I'd say I try and kind of forget about, I've had time to process what's happened this year, but kind of forget about that. It's a blank slate, a new start, and just look at next year, look at what I want to do. I always think, to me and Laura Waitman have this thing, whenever we're in pain in the gym or in the track, she'll be like, Keely, go to your happy place. Now, last year, my happy place was Tokyo. Okay. So this year, my happy place will be Oregon. It's quite a few champs next year, so it'll be all of that. So yeah, I just kind of think about what I want to do, and just stay focused on that. Because whenever I think about it, it makes me want to get up and run. So yeah.
Fair enough. So the second question was, where was your favorite place to race?
Ooh.
What country?
Sweden.
Ooh.
I love Sweden. Sweden's beautiful. So yeah, Sweden definitely. And Stockholm, the race went quite well, so that helped. But Sweden is a place.
Not Belgium then, yeah. Appreciate that.
Well, we had a crowd in Belgium, which is actually really nice. But
Yeah.
no, Brussels is nice, but Sweden, sorry.
Nah,
Okay.
it's a pretty old stadium, I think, as well. I
Yeah,
think was it the Heysel? Is it there? I don't know. Maybe not.
them bends are so long.
Yeah.
I'm sitting around the bends, and I'm thinking, when's this straight coming? I've been running for ages.
Yeah.
But it's a fast track, so
Mm.
it's nice.
Okay, so the third one is, what advice would you give a young 800-meter runner who would like to make it at the highest level?
I'd say to honestly just be consistent. Like when I think a lot of people, especially when you're like 13 and you're doing English schools, I hate English schools because I used to look at it like it was the bloody Olympics or something. And there's so much pressure on it. But when you're that age, just because someone's won English schools at 14 does not mean that they're going to be winning stuff at 20. So don't look around what everyone else. Obviously, it'd be nice to do it all, but I never did. I have one medal at English schools. I never won it. I got a lot of fourths, thirds. And then the year before I ran for my first GB, I came fourth at English schools. And then I won the European Youth year after. So I just think like, don't dwell on all that too much when you're young. Enjoy yourself. Obviously train hard because that's what you want to do and put your time and effort into it. But yeah, just keep consistent because it will show later on in your career when you're trying to get through to seniors.
Great advice.
Perfect. So the last question is, and you have to guess who asked this.
No.
Who is your favorite British high jumper? Oh no. Is this gonna be oh, if you get this wrong?
Oh, Emily's got to have asked this.
Yeah, spot on.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking Tom Gale, but I thought, nah, he wouldn't say anything like that.
They gave it away that we spoke about it just
I
5
shouldn't have
minutes
said
ago.
anything. Yeah.
Of course, and we shared a room in Tokyo, so
Oh, nice. Yeah.
she's my roomie.
Okay.
Legend.
So yeah, they're all the questions that we had for you. Thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, especially with the inconvenience of Instagram earlier.
That's fine. Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. This is sort of the moment where I give you a moment to shout anything out that you've got going on. All your socials and that will be in the description of the YouTube video.
Oh,
So
thank you.
is there anything else you want to shout out, or?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Shout out Leeds Beckett.
Yeah, Leeds Beckett.
The winter grind's back on now, so everyone stay focused.
Inspirational message there. No, but we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you could please share this with your friends or someone you feel would benefit from it. Most importantly, like, subscribe, comment down below any questions or guests you'd like us to get on in the future. Also, go follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Links will be in the description of the YouTube video. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.